Okay, let's unpack this. Today, we are doing a deep dive into some really interesting source material. It's all focused on improving your English language skills.
Hmm.
Specifically, it's about building in these consistent daily practices. We've got notes here that lay out a really structured approach
Yeah, it's quite practical.
based around 5 concrete tips you can, start using pretty much right away.
That's right. And what really jumps out, I think, from this material is the perspective it takes. It's not just, okay, study this grammar rule.
Right.
It frames language learning as a skill,
Yeah.
almost exactly like learning a musical instrument.
Ah, okay. Like learning the piano or something, where you can't just cram.
Exactly. You wouldn't practice the violin like crazy the night before a concert and expect to be amazing, right?
Definitely not, no.
Well, the source argues language is the same. Real fluency, real comfort with the language, it comes from that small, regular, daily effort.
Just doing a little bit every day.
Picking up the instrument, or in this case, engaging with English, even for a short burst, every single day. That consistency, it builds the instinct, the confidence. It's something that just hitting the books hard once a week can't really replicate.
Okay, that makes sense. And that's basically our mission today, isn't it? To explore these 5 specific methods the source is recommending.
Mm-hmm.
We want to go beyond just like listing them. We want to really dig into the why, pull out the details from the material so you can see how to actually fit these into your own daily routine.
Yeah, our goal is to show you these aren't just, generic tips you hear everywhere. They're designed to be actionable steps to build that daily English habit.
Hopefully providing some of those moments, some practical stuff you might not have thought of before.
Exactly. A bit of a shortcut maybe to integrating English practice effectively.
All right, so let's jump right in. Let's explore these 5 practices. And honestly, this first one, well, the concept itself is kind of intriguing. The source recommends following an audio soap opera.
Yeah. It sounds a bit left field at first, maybe, but the source makes a really compelling argument for it.
Okay, so define soap opera first in this context.
Right. So the source describes it as basically a daily serial drama, following the lives, the events of the same characters, usually in the same place.
Mm-hmm.
Like on TV, the source mentions things like EastEnders or Coronation Street in the UK.
Gotcha. Familiar concept. But the key here is audio.
Yes. Emphasis on audio.
Yeah.
And they are incredibly specific. They recommend one particular show from BBC Radio 4. It's called The Archers.
The Archers. Okay. Why that specific one? What makes it absolutely perfect for learners, as the source puts it?
Well, several things. First, it's got this incredible history. It's apparently the longest-running drama, ever. Started broadcasting way back in 1950. First episode aired 51.
Wow. Okay, that's impressive history, but practically for a learner today.
Practically, it's about the content and format. It follows fictional characters in this fictional English countryside village called Ambridge.
Ambridge? Okay.
And the stories are about their everyday lives. Daily happenings, current events reflected in the village, routine stuff, farming, local gossip, family things.
So the language is likely to be quite relevant to everyday life.
Exactly. You're hearing vocabulary and conversation patterns about normal, relatable things, not like super specialized academic language.
Okay, and for a daily practice, how long are the episodes? That's pretty crucial.
That's a key point they highlight. Episodes are short. Around 12, maybe 14 minutes, definitely under 15.
Oh, perfect. That's manageable.
Super manageable. You can fit that into a commute, a coffee break, easily. It reinforces that idea of small, consistent, achievable practice.
Right. So short, relevant content. What about how easy it is to understand? Accents, clarity, radio can be tricky.
The source describes the English as relatively clear, so it's natural speech, but generally, understandable. And here's a big plus. It features a variety of British accents.
Okay. Not just one standard voice.
No. You get standard English, regional accents, sometimes others, depending on the characters. And that exposure is vital, isn't it? For understanding English in the real world. It tunes your ear.
Yeah, absolutely. Real life isn't just one accent. But okay, what if you miss an episode? Or you just don't catch everything? That could be really frustrating.
Right. And this is where, according to the source, The Archers is particularly brilliant for learners. There are plot summaries posted on the BBC website for each episode.
Oh, okay, that's a game changer.
It really is. If you miss a day or you listen and you're like, I only got half of that, you can just go online and read what happened.
So you can fill in the gaps, check your understanding.
Exactly. Clarify things, reinforce what you heard.
Yeah.
The source really emphasizes using those summaries.
Yeah.
And trying to catch up if you miss one. just to stay with the flow of the story.
That ability to check. Yeah, that makes it much more of an active learning thing than just passive listening.
Totally.
So.
And while it runs daily, Sunday to Friday, they take Saturday off. Apparently, there's also a weekly omnibus episode. Yeah, it bundles up all the week's episodes into one longer listen. It's like 75 minutes. So that gives you flexibility, too. Stick to the daily 15 minutes, or maybe catch up with the omnibus on the weekend.
Okay, multiple options. And because it's this continuous story, like no real seasons, right? You can just start anytime.
Yes. The source points that out. It says, it might take a few episodes, maybe 5 or 6, to sort of get the hang of the characters, the voices, the current storylines.
Get your bearings.
Yeah. But after that initial adjustment, they suggest you'll feel really included. You start recognizing people, anticipating things. It becomes less like study, more like just following a story you enjoy.
It sounds like it builds comprehension, but also maybe a bit of connection. Does the source mention other benefits, like cost?
Yeah, good point. It's free, accessible on the BBC website, podcast apps. They also praise the production quality, beautifully produced. And there's apparently quite a big community around them.
Oh, like online?
Yeah. The source mentions it might have a reputation for an older audience because it's been around so long, but actually, there's a big growing younger fan base too. And here's a really cool, actionable tip they give. Search #TheArchers on Twitter.
#TheArchers.
Yep. You'll find loads of people discussing the episodes daily. You can practice your reading of, like, informal English, see what people are saying, and potentially even practice writing or interact if you feel up to it.
Wow, okay. So it's not just listening. It can lead to reading, maybe even some interaction. That's clever.
And the source provides links for the episodes and those summaries. So yeah, the takeaway is 10-15 minutes a day. This seems like a really efficient way to boost listening, get accent exposure, pick up everyday vocab, maybe even improve pronunciation by hearing it naturally, and crucially, enjoy it.
That enjoyment factor is key for consistency, isn't it?
Absolutely. It's a practical, low-pressure way into daily English immersion.
Okay, but here's a question. How does listening to the fictional goings-on in Ambridge actually translate into practical skills for you, the listener? For your work meeting or ordering coffee or talking about your day?
That's a really fair question. The link isn't about the specific plot, like you probably don't need to talk about sheep farming specifically.
Right.
But it's about the language functions in the vocabulary. The characters aren't just talking about farming. They're doing things with language. They're discussing problems, making plans together, expressing opinions, asking for help, saying sorry, gossiping, celebrating, complaining.
The fundamental things we all do in conversation.
Exactly. Those are the communication building blocks we use in our own lives.
Yeah.
So by hearing native speakers do these things over and over, day after day, you internalize the common phrases, the idioms, the sentence structures, the little filler words that make speech sound natural.
So you absorb the patterns.
You absorb the patterns. And the vocabulary is about daily routines, local news, simple transactions, describing people and places, all super practical stuff. Plus, those summaries. You can use them to review key words or phrases you heard, see them written down. It helps solidify it. You're building this foundation of understanding natural, everyday English, which you can then adapt for your own conversations.
I see. So it's the function and the patterns in a relatable context, not necessarily the exact topic matching your life. Okay, that makes a lot more sense. Right, moving on from Ambridge, let's get to the second daily practice the source talks about, which is talking daily with natives.
Yes. This one feels more maybe obvious. Everyone knows speaking practice is important.
Sure, but the source points out the big challenge, right? Which is how? How do you actually find people to talk to every day and make it consistent?
Exactly. That's the bottleneck for so many learners. You want to talk. But finding partners who are available daily, willing, it's tough.
So what solutions does the source suggest?
They're quite practical. They basically outline 2 main paths, what they call one paid option and one free option.
Okay.
They don't name specific companies, just the types. So the paid route is things like, online tutoring platforms where you hire a teacher or conversation partner.
Right, paying for someone's time and expertise.
And the free option is generally language exchange communities, where you find someone learning your language and you teach each other. You help them, they help you with English.
Tandem learning, that kind of thing.
Exactly. Those are the 2 models. But here's where the source offers a strong opinion. They don't just say pick one. They actually recommend as the best approach combining both.
A mix and match, paid and free. Why?
The reasoning is pretty smart, actually. It addresses a common pitfall. The idea is you use the free language exchanges, which are often easier to find and happen more casually, to get lots of practice actually using the language, trying things out,
Getting the mileage in.
getting the mileage, yeah. Then you take stuff you heard or maybe questions you had or mistakes you think you made in those free exchanges, and you bring them to your paid session. You verify it with a paid teacher, as the source puts it.
Ah, okay. So the teacher acts as the quality control, the accuracy check.
Precisely. The source calls it an extra layer of security. Because, let's face it, in a free exchange, your partner might be great, but they're probably not a trained teacher.
Right. They might not spot your mistakes, or they might feel awkward correcting you all the time.
Exactly. And that can lead to fossilization,
Yeah.
where you keep making the same mistake over and over until it becomes a habit.
A fossilized error. Hard to fix later.
Very hard. So by taking those specific points or questions to a paid teacher, you get that expert feedback. They can correct your grammar properly, help with pronunciation, explain why something is wrong, and guide you in practicing the correct way.
That makes a ton of sense. You get the quantity and the sort of natural flow from the free practice, but the quality and targeted correction from the paid sessions.
It's a balanced diet for your speaking skills, fluency and accuracy.
Okay, let's connect that back specifically to you, the listener. Why is talking daily so critical? More so than just listening, and how does this combo approach really help you practically?
Well, talking daily is vital because it's active production. Listening and reading, that's input. Filling the tank, super important. But speaking, that's driving the car.
Okay, good analogy.
You have to actually use the fuel. You're forced to recall words quickly, use grammar rules on the fly, structure your thoughts, get the sounds right so people understand you. It immediately shows you where the gaps are.
Yeah, you notice what you can't say.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That real-time struggle is where so much learning happens. Now, the combination approach, it makes this daily practice achievable. Free exchanges give you frequency and accessibility. You can talk to different people, practice lots without breaking the bank. Paid sessions, even if just, say, once a week, give you that focused, expert input. You use that time efficiently to fix the problems you noticed in your free practice. It ensures you're practicing correctly, not just practicing mistakes. It gives you flexibility, a safety net. Makes the whole idea of daily speaking less scary and way more effective.
Quantity from the free, quality from the paid, a really solid strategy. Okay, let's move to the third daily practice from the source. Setting a daily word goal.
Yes, this one is positioned as really fundamental, and it connects directly to the next tip we'll discuss.
The source apparently mentioned the basic idea before needing to build vocabulary quickly. What's the core concept here?
The core concept is simple but powerful. Commit to learning at least one new word every single day.
Just one.
At least one. The source is optimistic you'll learn more, but setting that minimum makes it feel totally doable day in, day out.
Okay, one new word minimum. Seems manageable, but how do you find these words? This is where the method comes in, right?
This is the clever part. The recommendation is to keep a word diary. Could be a small notebook, could be a list on your phone, whatever it is. The crucial instruction is keep it with you, always.
Always have it on hand. Why?
Because the goal is to train your brain to be constantly aware, linguistically speaking, to always be scanning your environment and your thoughts and asking yourself, do I know that word in English?
So like the example they give, I'm walking outside, I see a specific kind of tree, maybe a birch tree, and I realize I don't know birch in English.
Exactly that example. Or you hear a concept discussed or think of an action you want to describe. If you hit that moment of, what's the English for that? The immediate step is note it down quickly.
Okay.
And importantly, the source says, write it down in your own native language in that moment. Don't stop and look it up then. Just capture the idea you couldn't express.
Just capture the gap. Okay, so I've got this list of words in my own language. By the end of the day, what next?
Right, that's step 2. At the end of the day, and they specifically say before you go to sleep, you take that list you collected, and that's when you do the research. Look them up. Find the English translations. Maybe grab a definition or an example sentence if you can.
Capture during the day in native language. Research the English before sleep. Why this specific routine?
The source explained it's about cultivating a mindset. This loop notice, capture, research, trains your brain to be always hungry for English. You're actively seeking out your knowledge gaps based on your day. It makes you notice language constantly.
It becomes a habit.
Becomes a habit. The source claims that after just a few weeks, you'll automatically start spotting words you don't know, things you hadn't even realized you were missing. And doing the research before sleep, that taps into memory consolidation. Processing new info right before sleep is thought to help it stick better.
What's really neat about this is it's not like memorizing random vocabulary lists someone gives you.
No.
Totally personalized. You're building the vocabulary you actually need because it's based on your own life, your own observation.
Exactly. It makes vocab learning relevant, contextual, and continuous.
Yeah.
You own the process because you're identifying the words yourself.
Okay, and this flows perfectly into the fourth daily practice. Because the source says there's something specific you should then do with these new words you've just found.
Yes, precisely.
Mm.
This practice takes those words you just researched and puts them straight into action. The core activity is write a daily journal.
Daily journal or diary, okay, that's a common tip. But the source says this one has a difference. What's the twist?
So the basics are the same. Write something every day. They suggest maybe getting a physical journal or planner, like one with the days of the week spread out.
Okay.
Maybe just aim for 3 or 4 sentences about your day, especially if you're tired in the evening. Be realistic.
Right. So write daily, keep it manageable. What's the difference?
The difference is, in those sentences about your day, you must actively try to use the new words you learned from your word list, the ones you just looked up before bed.
So the words I realized I didn't know earlier that day, I now immediately try to weave them into sentences describing my own day.
That's the key. That's the integration step.
Yeah.
By forcing yourself to use the new word in a meaningful sentence about your experience, you're embedding it. You're moving it from just passive recognition to active use. The source says this ensures the words get fully integrated.
And doing it right before sleep again presumably helps it stick.
That seems to be the logic, yeah. Research, immediate application, then sleep for consolidation.
Okay.
And they add another reinforcement loop. Read what you wrote the next morning.
Reread the journal entry.
Yeah, just quickly read your sentences from the night before. It keeps those new words fresh in your head as you start your day. It's this neat little cycle. Identify, research, use, sleep, review.
That sounds incredibly powerful. It hits the words from multiple angles. The source calls it a fabulous technique. Why else do they rate it so highly?
They list multiple benefits stacking up. You're obviously building vocabulary, you're improving your writing skills, sentence structure, grammar just by doing it. You're improving reading skills by rereading. And they add, if you took the time to check the pronunciation of the new words when you research them, the whole process helps pronunciation and listening too, as you kind of mentally hear the words while writing and reading them.
Wow. Okay. Vocab, writing, reading, potentially pronunciation and listening, all bundled into one short daily task. That's efficient. And they mention getting feedback too.
Yes, another important layer. If you have a teacher or tutor, the source strongly suggests bringing your journal entries to them, maybe like the last 2 pages each week.
For correction.
For correction, absolutely crucial. The teacher can check your grammar, suggest better phrasing, make sure you're using the new words correctly in context. It stops you from practicing errors.
Right. Closes the feedback loop, ensures you're building good habits. The source is pretty emphatic, saying doing this daily will help you so much.
Yeah, it connects identifying a need, learning the word, actively using it in a personal context, reinforcing it through review, and getting expert feedback. It's way beyond just flashcards.
So thinking about the learner's journey again, this method bridges that gap between passively finding words and actively using them in a way that's immediately relevant to your life, making vocabulary stick because it's tied to your experience.
Exactly. It makes vocabulary functional from day one. A very smart, integrated practice.
Okay, brilliant. That brings us to the fifth and final daily practice recommended in the source material. This one involves translation.
Yes. And this might seem a bit counterintuitive to some learners, because often the advice is stop translating. Think in English, right?
Yeah, exactly. Thinking directly in the target language is often seen as the ultimate goal.
It is, and it's a worthy goal. But this source material argues that translation actually plays a very, very important part in the learning process, with a key condition. It's especially useful when you translate things you're actually interested in.
Okay, why? Why is translation still valuable, even if the end goal is thinking directly in English?
The source says it's really, really good for comparing how things are expressed across languages. When you actively translate, you're forced to grapple with the structural differences.
How sentences are built differently, word order.
Word order, grammar, idioms, nuances in meaning that don't map directly. Things you might just gloss over if you're only consuming or trying to speak. Translation makes you consciously analyze how English works compared to your native language.
So it's about deepening that structural understanding.
Exactly. Building what linguists might call metalinguistic awareness. And the source offers a very practical, modern, and free way to practice this: YouTube subtitles.
YouTube subtitles. How does that work for daily translation practice?
The approach is listener-focused again. First step, pick YouTubers you genuinely enjoy watching.
Okay.
People who talk about subjects you care about: photography, tech, cooking, gaming, pets, makeup, whatever your hobbies are.
So the content has to be engaging for you personally.
Crucial for motivation. Then, the source highlights the opportunities some creators offer for community subtitle contributions. The person who wrote this source material even mentions doing this for their own videos.
Okay, so how does that community contribution work, as described?
Typically, the creator provides their original English subtitles. Then, viewers who are native speakers of other languages can volunteer to write the subtitles in their language. So in this specific scenario, you would be translating from English into your native language.
Ah, okay. English to my native language. What are the benefits of doing that, according to the source?
Well, for the creator and community, it makes the video accessible to more people. That's nice.
Right.
For you, the translator, the source says, yeah, it's really, really cool to get your name credited. But the main learning benefit is improving your translation skills. You're wrestling with native English phrasing and figuring out the best, most natural way to say it in your language. That sharpens your understanding of both.
That's an interesting way to contribute and practice. Does the source mention other ways, like translating into English?
Yes, absolutely. They explicitly say translating videos from your native language into English is also really good practice. That flips the direction, forcing you into active English production, figuring out how to express your ideas accurately in English.
Okay.
And even if you're not doing formal contributions, they note that simply taking existing English subtitles on a video you like and trying to translate them into your native language yourself, just as an exercise, is still a really good reading and translation exercise. You can compare, analyze, learn a lot.
So the core idea is daily translation using content you like. YouTube subtitles provide a platform, whether you're contributing translations from English, practicing translating to English, or just using them for personal analysis.
Exactly. It's about that active comparison between languages, using material that keeps you engaged. The source offers a link if people want to look more into community subtitles specifically.
In connecting this back, this type of practice really forces you to think about language structure and nuance in a way that just speaking or writing might not. You're comparing systems.
Yes, it's analytical. It complements the more production-focused fluency practice. It's about understanding the mechanics behind the language.
Right. So that's the 5 practices we've dug into from the source material.
And the big takeaway, the thread connecting them all, is that idea of small, consistent, daily effort. It's not about huge study sessions once in a while.
No.
It's about finding achievable ways to touch English every single day across different skills. Listening with the archers, speaking with natives, building vocab with the word goal, writing and reading with a journal, analyzing with translation.
And the strategies give you that mix, don't they?
Yeah.
Passive input like listening, active output like talking and writing, and structured learning like the word lists and getting corrections.
It's about creating a sustainable rhythm, keeping English present in your life daily, even if it's just for short, focused periods.
Okay, so let's just quickly recap those 5 strategies again for everyone. First, there was following an audio soap opera like The Archers. Daily, short listening for everyday English, accents with summaries for backup.
Second, talking daily with natives. The source strongly suggests mixing free exchanges for fluency practice with paid lessons for that crucial accuracy feedback.
Third, the daily word goal. Keep a notebook. Notice words you don't know during your day, write them in your language, then research the English before sleep.
Fourth, the daily journal with a difference. Write a few sentences about your day, actively using those new words you just learned, reread it the next morning, and get it corrected by a teacher if possible.
And fifth, daily translation practice, especially using subjects you like. YouTube subtitles are a great tool for this, comparing English and your native language structures.
And our goal here was to pull out not just the tips, but the why and the how from the source material, making it really practical for you, the listener, to see how you could actually use these.
And underlying it all is that core principle from the source, the big idea we started with. The power of daily consistency, just like practicing that musical instrument.
It's the daily tuning, the regular short practice that builds the real skill over time, not the occasional frantic cramming.
It's the difference between picking up the guitar once a month versus strumming a few chords every single day.
Exactly. The daily habit builds the fluency, the intuition.
Okay, so here's a final thought for you to take away, drawing directly from that powerful instrument analogy in the source and their very practical methods. If learning a language really is like learning an instrument, and if, as the source argues, even small, consistent daily practice is the absolute key, how might committing just 15 or maybe 30 minutes every single day, focusing on just one or two of these methods, maybe starting with the archers, maybe just ensuring you get that one new word into your journal, how might that fundamentally change your relationship with English and the progress you see over the next year?